In the Battle of Thermopylae, the 300 Spartan warriors were completely annihilated. The furious King Darius raised his battle axe and took the king's head. With the Spartan warriors no longer obstructing him, King Darius led a 1,000,000-strong army straight to Athens. In one night, he turned it to ashes. However, the mastermind behind this brutal war was not King Darius, but a Greek woman named Artemisia. She was the highest naval commander of the Persian Empire, a born goddess of war. Possessing both wisdom and martial prowess, she achieved victory every time she went into battle. She made significant contributions to the expansion of the Persian Empire, but her lifelong wish was to exterminate all Greeks. The reason was that when Artemisia was young, she witnessed her parents being brutally murdered by the Greeks, and she herself was imprisoned on a slave ship, experiencing countless nightmarish nights. After she fell seriously ill, the Greeks abandoned her on the roadside to fend for herself until a Persian envoy, seeing her plight, rescued her. From then on, Artemisia devoted herself to the Persian Empire and studied martial arts diligently, hoping that one day she could return to Greece and destroy it herself to avenge her family. Artemisia was exceptionally gifted. At just 14, she defeated Persia's strongest swordsman. Thus, she gained the favor of King Darius and became the highest commander of the Persian navy. As the Battle of Marathon began, King Darius took advantage of the night to secretly land his troops on Greek territory. However, they fell into an ambush set by the Greek army. These Persians, having sailed at sea for months, were exhausted, and the fierce Greeks quickly routed them. Leading the Greeks was a man named Themistocles. After killing the enemies around him, he happened to spot King Darius on a nearby ship. Seizing the opportunity, he drew his bow and shot an arrow at the king. Themistocles' precise shot struck the king's vital point. King Darius, knowing his time was short, told his son Xerxes not to follow in his footsteps and let the despicable Greeks fend for themselves. Only a god could defeat them. However, before the king could finish speaking, Artemisia suddenly drew her sword and forced the king to take his last breath. She knew this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for revenge, and the cowardly prince could never achieve great things. She then told Xerxes that his father's words were not a warning but a challenge. Under Artemisia's persuasion, Xerxes went to a wizard's cave. Xerxes abandoned his physical form and offered himself to the extremely evil fallen power. Moments later, a man radiating light emerged from the water, and Xerxes successfully transformed into a god king. However, this was just the first step in Artemisia's revenge plan. She killed all the confidants of the princes in the palace, for only then would the prince obey her and become her puppet. Then, she instructed Xerxes to stand before the Persian people and convey her orders word for word.
Avenge yourself. War!
Under Xerxes' command, the Persian Empire's army began its campaign. According to plan, Artemisia and Xerxes split their forces. Xerxes first led the land army to advance into Greece from the east. They faced the Spartans at Thermopylae, but after the 300 warriors held out for several days, they were ultimately annihilated due to betrayal. Meanwhile, Artemisia led the navy from the west into the Aegean Sea, returning to her birthplace in Greece. But the Greeks were not to be underestimated. Their naval commander was Themistocles, who had shot King Darius. At this point, the Greek fleet had already formed a formation, waiting for the Persians to arrive. Faced with the unfavorable situation of a strong enemy and a weak one, Themistocles gave an impassioned speech before the battle to boost morale.
Most of all, you fight for Greece!
As a massive wave surged, the Persian warships launched their attack. Hundreds of Persian warships came roaring in with the waves, but Themistocles remained unfazed. He quickly saw through the enemy's strategy.
But they are weak in the middle. We attack them there.
As the enemy fleet approached, the Greek fleet opened its formation. Then, the soldiers on the ships frantically threw anchors to attack. After a round of attrition, Themistocles ordered a change in ship tactics. The smaller warships on the sea were more agile, using their hulls to ram the heavy Persian ships, which could only be crushed and sunk to the seabed.
Go through them!
Before long, the Persian warships gradually disappeared from the surface of the sea under the fierce assault of the Greek fleet.
We are losing.
No, you are losing.
Artemisia could not tolerate the incompetence of her subordinates. The defeated commanders were ordered to be thrown into the deep sea. Then, Artemisia regrouped and sent out capable generals, vowing to take down the Greek navy. The next day, thick fog enveloped the sea, and the Persian commander rashly ordered an attack on the Greek fleet. Just as the Persian fleet approached, Greek commander Themistocles suddenly ordered a retreat. In no time, the entire Greek fleet rushed into the fog. However, the Persian commander mistakenly believed the enemy was fleeing. When the Persian warships crashed into hidden reefs, the Persian commander finally realized they had fallen into Themistocles' trap. The Persian warships had no time to evade and crashed into the bridge. Immediately, hundreds of warships followed behind, and the Greek army ambushed from the mountaintops launched their attack. The fierce Greeks leaped down, catching the unprepared Persians off guard. As a large number of Greek troops surged in from both sides of the canyon, Artemisia's fleet was quickly annihilated. Themistocles led his men all the way to the Persian flagship and kicked the Persian commander to death. After 2 failed attempts, the Persians had to take this war seriously. The next day, Artemisia personally led the fleet to launch an attack, arranging a simple and brutal tactic. A giant warship charged straight into the Greek battle group, then had the slaves on board turn the switches. Surrounding the Persian giant ship, gasoline began to spray, and at Artemisia's command, the Suicide Squad jumped into the sea. They carried large gasoline packs on their backs, recklessly charging toward the Greek fleet. At this moment, Themistocles noticed the gasoline floating on the sea and sensed danger, so he quickly ordered a retreat. But by then, the Persian Suicide Squad had already arrived nearby, and Themistocles had no choice but to immediately arrange for his soldiers to defend. At this moment, Artemisia seized the opportunity to draw her bow from a distance and shot an arrow into the abdomen of the Greek vice commander. Then, Artemisia shot another deadly arrow, which pierced the vice commander's heart, killing him instantly. Before Themistocles could mourn, 2 fire arrows fell from the sky, landing on the gasoline-filled sea. The sea ignited in flames, and the massive Persian ships were also set ablaze, causing violent explosions in the Greek fleet. At this moment, Artemisia lit another fire arrow and shot it at the ship where Themistocles was. An elite arrow struck the gasoline pack of the Suicide Squad. And just as Themistocles was about to shoot down the man with the pack, a violent explosion suddenly occurred. Themistocles' ship was shattered, and Artemisia finally fulfilled her wish, avenging her long-held grudge. The Greek warships were consumed by the raging flames, and at that moment, Themistocles, who fell into the sea, opened his eyes. In a daze, he saw 2 giant dragons fighting over the corpses of his comrades. It turned out to be just a dream. Themistocles was fortunate to be rescued by his men and escaped a calamity, but with the Greek navy severely weakened, what kind of counterattack should Themistocles make? After Xerxes annihilated the 300 warriors, he ordered his men to send the Spartan king's sword to Athens to serve as a deterrent. He warned the Greeks that if they did not surrender, their fate would be the same as that of the 300 warriors. Upon receiving the sword, Themistocles did not feel afraid. Instead, he saw it as a great opportunity to unite and defeat Xerxes. Then, under his persuasion, all the Greek federations formed an alliance to resist the invasion of the Persians together. As Xerxes led a 1,000,000-strong army to besiege Athens, an ugly dwarf brought bad news. The Greek fleet was rapidly approaching them, and their commander was none other than Themistocles, who had shot King Darius. At this moment, Artemisia, hearing that Themistocles was still alive, felt furious. She vowed to destroy all of Greece, but just as Artemisia was preparing to deploy her troops, Xerxes intervened to stop her. He believed it was a trap set by the enemy. However, Artemisia, as the seasoned highest commander of the Persian navy, did not take this puppet emperor seriously.
I am the God King. I am the one who triumphed over Leonidas. I am your king.
Killing Leonidas and his men only made them martyrs. And when you raised Athens, you set fire to the only thing of value in this country.
Furious, Xerxes slapped Artemisia hard, but the stubborn Artemisia still chose to go her own way. Thus, both sides were on the brink of the largest war in history. Persia gathered hundreds of warships to the Greek Sea, while the Greek soldiers were also ready for battle. They smeared their faces with the ashes of their loved ones, symbolizing their determination to fight alongside their deceased family members. With a command from Greek commander Themistocles, the great battle was about to begin. The Greek warriors quickly grabbed the ropes of their ships, and the warships charged at full speed toward the Persian battle zone. Under Tocles' command, hundreds of Greek warriors stormed the Persian warships, and close combat ensued. The Greek warriors, armed with shields, fought valiantly, while the Persian soldiers were left defenseless. Seeing this, Persian commander Artemisia immediately drew her twin swords and led her death guard into battle. Artemisia and her death squad were unstoppable, and the poorly equipped Greek warriors were no match for them. At a critical moment, Tocles unleashed his trump card. A black horse suddenly charged out from below the ship. Tocles rode the warhorse, cutting through the enemy ranks and heading for the enemy flagship. Just as Tocles charged toward Artemisia, the horse was unfortunately attacked. After falling from the horse, Tocles was besieged by the death squad, but he used his superb martial arts to take them down in one move. At this moment, Tocles took off his hat, and the guilty Artemisia angrily charged at him, leading to a fierce duel. The battle was intense. With Tocles landing a powerful punch on Artemisia, who swiftly retaliated with a stab. The fight escalated, and soon their blades were locked against each other's necks. But just as they faced off, a cool breeze suddenly blew across the sea. Artemisia looked out and saw hundreds of Greek warships riding the waves, rushing toward them. It turned out that the Spartan queen had arrived with tens of thousands of Spartan warriors to provide support. Soon, the Persian warships were surrounded, and Tocles seized the opportunity to knock Artemisia down, demanding her to surrender, but Artemisia chose to fight to the death, and in the end, Tocles' blade pierced through her abdomen. Artemisia fell heavily to the ground, and in her dying moments, she recalled the scene of her family being killed by the Greeks. Although she could not complete her revenge plan, she never regretted her actions. As the Spartan warships charged toward the Persian fleet, the spirits of the 300 Spartan warriors returned. The Spartan queen wielded the sword left by the king, fiercely killing the invading Persian marauders. When Xerxes on the shore witnessed the tragic scene of the Persian fleet, he had no choice but to leave the battlefield helpless.